right, welcome back. So Destin has made had another interview with Jonathan, and I just saw it come up on my feed, and I'm kind of interested because the last couple we checked out was really informative, and actually there was like some really good questions in there, questions that I kind of wanted answers to, you could say, from the live stream or the Q&A or like something like that. And I feel like he's usually really good at asking the right questions. So that's why I kind of wanted to check this out, like we did the last couple of times. And of course, shout out to Destin for this. He's a very nice guy. And I'll leave a link to the video and his channel in the description as always. And yeah, let's get into it. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Well, Jonathan, it's great to see you again for Path of Exile 2, last of the Druids reveal. And to share this with my audience, how have you been?
Me personally, or
yeah, you. How you? You're talking to you.
yeah. So honestly, like it's been going very well. Like probably for me, one of the great things is that we're really showing people how we're able to get the company to be able to work on 2 games at the same time and kind of make sure we're hitting those releases and everything. So so long as we're actually able to get like just make cool things, I'm really happy. And so it's really good to see that we're finally able to do that.
That's great. Well, let me ask you this. What's the most exciting aspect of this update that you're really excited to talk about and reveal today?
Well, for me, I would say it's honestly the Fate of the Val League, and I guess I'm really personally invested in this one because I took the kind of unusual step of writing the code for it myself, which I don't usually do these days. It's like something that's kind of pretty unusual, but I really enjoy those kinds of leagues that have like some kind of interesting simulation of something going on. So the build your dungeon mechanic and like all that stuff. I had a blast making that, so I'm really hoping that players will enjoy playing around with that too. And there's just some really cool design ideas in there, and like some of the crafting stuff in there is like pretty crazy and out there, and it's just a really fun one. I mean, obviously the druid's like a a big thing, and like but I've been working on that for a long time, whereas this league is something I've only been working on for a little while, so I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
Yeah, you actually showed me the Druid many years ago at Gamescom. You brought it up during the roundtable there. So we first played it a few years ago. What happened to that build since? Can you take me through your process of getting to today, besides, adding the whole wyvern to the... or is it wyvern or wyvern?
Wyvern, I believe, is what we said.
So I did see that video of them playtesting the druid way back when there was like multiple bottles and all the stuff, and it was very different looking, honestly, on some aspects. Seeing it now, it's definitely been polished like a lot, both on the shapeshifting side but also on the spellcaster skill side, you could say. And of course, everybody can be shapeshifters, right? Like, it's not a druid thing, which I think maybe not everybody is like, like understanding fully. You can be a ranger and use the shapeshifter because it's a weapon, right? The weapon allows you to shapeshift. You can put that weapon on any character. So if you want to be a witch who's a werewolf, man, go for it. So that's like the main difference when you look at druids, right? For me personally, with Diablo, if you wanted to shapeshift, you had to be a druid, and that was it, right? Like, you couldn't jump on a sorceress. Well, actually, you could. Because of later introduced items, you could jump on the sword and you can make like a bear sword that was unkillable, right? In PvP, basically. In melee PvP, I should say. Stuff like that, right? And that's some things that are so cool, but that's super hyper specific to one thing. Here I feel like they hit the mark a little bit better, where it does seem like some ascendancies could be really potent with the shapeshifting other than druids, right? There is definitely potential other places too. So I could see like monk, I could see Pathfinder with the new upgrade. That could be really fucking insane, actually. Um, mercenary could be insane as well. It just comes down to what's gonna perform the best, right? Like, and it might not be druid. That's the thing, right? Like druid might be really, really good, but with something else. You know what I mean? Like that's that. I'm not saying that it's gonna be bad or anything, but I'm just saying like there's so much potential here in like build variety, and that's what I want to see. I want to see a bunch of build variety, and there's like a bunch of um, enabled build. It doesn't have to be the best builds in the game. They just have to be able to do all the content, right? Like you can't have builds that can't even complete a map, right? That would be so sad if that was the way things worked out in the end. And yeah, man, let's continue.
I missed that.
I don't know what the official fantasy pronunciation is, but
You're probably right.
But yeah, so basically, back when we did that presentation, we only really had the bear, and to be honest, it was really only like 3 or 4 skills for the bear kind of there. So, I mean, we had a class and it was fun what we had made, but it wasn't really like a full class with all the different things that you need. And honestly, at that point, I don't think we'd even really realized the amount of work it even takes to make a class. You know, it was that early. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff to do. And then even worse, we had the thing where, you know, we added WASD. That suddenly compromised like a bunch of the extra work that we had done, you know, on this class, you know, getting all the animation stuff done. So that was just a huge amount of work. And not only that, but we had situations where, like, you know, there were huge amounts of arguments in the team about how a wolf should be. You know, like that was a huge point of contention. And so that was, you know, like I was kind of like, I really don't want it to be a man in a wolf suit. I really wanted to make sure that it was, you know, like actually like you know, you'd run around on 4 legs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, there was problems with, okay, but then if you're going to do that, then like, what can you do? Just like bite things? I mean, what are we doing here? You know, like there was that kind of stuff, you know, like there was just sort of fulfilling the fantasy of that. And like, so, you know, we had to find ways to compromise around that and like make the walking feel good.
That's a very obvious actually point that he's pointing out here, because both the bear and the wolf in Diablo 2 is standing on its back legs at all times, right? Like you never really run on all 4 legs like that while you're doing attacks or like stuff like that. Maybe if you're like sprinting to the next area, right? But I mean, like it just it does kind of feel a little bit like a man in a suit, as he said, in comparison to what this looked like. This looked like a full transformation into an animal, and that is kind of cool.
And then there was the wyvern, which, you know, once again, WASD problems where, you know, now that we've got that, it has to be that when you use a spell or a ranged attack, you expect to be able to move while you're doing it. If you're a wyvern and you're like walking around on your wings, you know, you can't just like slide around on the ground. So, you know, we had problems of like, how do we solve that problem? And it's crazy some of the stuff we went through. Like at one point we had the neck like turning around, and then you have this like flip animation when you went around a certain 90-degree corner and that kind of stuff. It was seriously crazy the amount of iteration we had to go through. So, you know, like just getting there was just a whole thing. And then of course, you know, like there's just everything else you need to make a class, the ascendancies and the support gems and the uniques and like all that stuff, right? So it's a surprisingly large amount of work, but I think the druid really was one of the harder ones we've ever done.
Druid is looking great. It looks a lot of fun. You sort of addressed it in the presentation, but I did see Darth's recent video. I like Darth Microtransaction a lot. I watch a lot of his content, pop in his stream. He was highlighting that there could be a better boss reward grind. How are you revitalizing the PoE 2 boss grind for uniques or just interesting gear drops from the more challenging encounters? And is that from community feedback?
So we basically, like, there's still a lot more work we can do to like make the, I guess, the core drop pool that you get from fighting bosses and so on to, you know, like to be really good. There's definitely some concerns at the moment that, you know, that this specific content has all the best stuff, and then like there's not enough stuff just for like killing, you know, your random workaday boss. So that's like something that we are concerned about. And one of the things that we're doing here is we've actually buffing a lot of uniques, like that kind of thing, like to make sure that those are actually more exciting to find. We're like, you know, doing things like with like lineage supports to like do some of that as well. well. So we're just kind of just trying to make sure that like the rewards that we do have are better. I think one of the things that we do get compared to all the time is like Path of Exile 1, which has like 10 years of content and is like a very hard like thing to sort of, it's hard to get to the point where there's enough rewards like how that game has, right? That ultimately is like the the game we should be compared to. So we sort of have to reach the point where there's enough content and enough interesting things going on with the drops that people sort of feel happy about that. And so yeah, we are trying to address that here. But I did think honestly there's an element of just we need to get enough content into the game that there's enough cool things to find that you can actually feel like, okay, I'm going for this particular thing that's undervalued in the market right now, and that kind of stuff in order to really get that feeling of of like chase rewards to find.
We'll hear you on that. The next one's sort of an important one, so please be honest. Who coined the term bear-pocalypse? Just out of curiosity.
That was me, I believe. I believe I was that one who wrote that one. The skill was called that in development, by the way.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was the name.
So you just had that in
Oh,
placeholder?
just like, yeah, sure. I mean, like people always pick funny placeholder names. In fact, like a lot of that stuff, the data miners will still find it in the game files when they look around. So, that's always a fun one for those silly names.
Nice. So I was sort of looking at the Steam numbers, and I noticed it's really interesting. Path of Exile seems to have smaller peaks, but longer valleys on SteamDB. Path of Exile 2 has bigger peaks, but the valleys got a bit lower on the player count front. Do you think there's something missing on the retention end for each update of PoE 2 right now?
Yeah, it's the lack of content.
Out as you head towards
it's very
launch?
simple.
I definitely think that that's something that will improve, and I think that really what it comes down to once again is just the fact that PoE 1's got so much depth of content. The amount of stuff that you can do in a given season is just so incredibly huge. Like there is put it this way, I mean, there's content there that like players may not even play for multiple leagues at a time, and then when they come back to it, like it's been so long that they're like, refreshed and sort of playing again. Like there's that kind of stuff, because there's just such a huge amount of content. I mean, I don't even know what the count of the number of leagues we released in that game is at this point. It's like more than 40. It's probably like maybe approaching 50 by this point. So yeah, there's just like a huge amount of stuff going on there. And
And this is kind of crazy even to say, right? Let me just pull this out real quick so you guys have a little bit of an understanding of how big Path of Exile 1 actually is. Because it is actually insane. So if I go to my library, right? And we go to Path of Exile 1. I have nearly 4,000 hours played in Path of Exile 1. Yet I have never really played Heist. I've never really played Ultimatum. I haven't really done like just straight uber boss killing for a league, for instance. I haven't really done... Let me think. I haven't done the Trial of Sekemes version in PoE 1, which is the Sanctuary. I haven't really done, let me think. There's other mechanics I still haven't even really played around with, right? And that's after having played 4,000 hours, which is insane. And I've pretty much tried to play like one new mechanic every league kind of thing. And then of course found some mechanics that I was really like in love with. And those mechanics that I was like super in love with and I really felt like was really good, those leagues I played like those mechanics I try to play every league because I really enjoy them. And then on the other hand, I also add on something like rather new, you could say. Or sometimes there is a new mechanic that came with the league. For instance, they revamped the whole breach situation and made all the breaches like up to date. So obviously I played a lot of breach this past league, but I also played like Harbingers. I played the Harvest. I played a little bit of Abyss, tiny bit, because the previous league to this one I played like a ton of Abyss. But yeah, there's just so much content in PoE 1 that is, if you do compare the two games, you have to compare the two games, in my opinion, in the same state, right? So you compare PoE 2-1, you compare PoE 1 to 2, then do it at a state the same state like 2 leagues in, right? Back when PoE 1 only had like two leagues basically. Then the content amount is like crazy difference, right? Then PoE 2 has a lot more to offer if you look at it that way. But if you're comparing PoE 1 to PoE 2 as is, then it's going to be completely skewered because there's 10 years of development of new leagues, of new content, of new, like, everything, right? New nodes on the tree, new nodes on your passive tree, new maps, new everything. And all this stuff accumulates over time. And then you get to a certain point and it's just massive. And that's what PoE 2 will end out as. If we give that, like, if we took a time machine right now and we traveled, let's say, 5 years into the future, then I think personally this would be looked at as, oh, this was like basically just the bare bones of the game, right? That's how that's what it's going to feel like given like another 5 years of development, basically. It's going to really feel like what we have now is like the bare bones. We're going to look back at this and be like, what the fuck? We had nothing. It was like so small. And now we have like 15 different Uber bosses or whatever.
Ultimately, it's just about making sure that we get in that end game to the point where people are enjoying it more. So we actually did have a huge plan for new content for Endgame that we were planning on getting in 040, but it just sort of ended up being that the scope was a little bit too large. We couldn't quite do it. So some of that content instead is going to be coming in 050, and I think that can address some of those issues as well. Like one of the common things we hear is basically like there aren't enough goals in the end game. Like you sort of feel like once you get into the end game, you just lose a little bit of direction. So that's sort of something that we want to make sure that we're improving. So we decided to do sort of like some system improvements, like making sure that the fun of the end game is improved in that way. But some of what the end game is lacking is just straight up content, and obviously that takes time to produce. It is. I can assure you that it is in progress. There is stuff coming, but there's just next league I think will be when we manage to get a lot more of that stuff coming out.
I definitely didn't mean it as a negative. Like the player numbers seem really, really solid. It was just sort of an interesting comparative figure that I thought I would ask you about.
But it is definitely something that I'm concerned about, right? Because like I would say that when players, I mean, look, so every time we have a release, we're like, okay, what are the players unhappy about, right? Like, what are the things that we need to be addressing? So, the in-game stuff is one of the ones that we had big in our list that we wanted to improve. So that's why we started. I mean, even in 030, we decided to make a patch to address some of the problems even early because we saw it as a big enough of an issue that we wanted to even fix that mid-league. So that's why 031 happened as well.
Yeah, whenever we chat, I try not to ask you like the same questions over and over again, but I thought there would be a few points that I could revisit. I actually watched some of our old interviews to prepare for today. One of the things you highlighted was about PoE 1 players versus PoE 2 players and the differences there. Do you feel like PoE 1 player satisfaction has gone up in PoE 2? And how are PoE 2 players feeling about the game? You highlighted that PoE 1 players felt like 2 was hard and 2 players felt like 2 was easier. How's that going?
So I definitely think that PoE 1 players are liking PoE 2 more than what they did before. But I think the other thing that's really helped is that, PoE 1 is actually getting content again with the proper release schedule and everything like that. Yeah. So, like if you're the kind of person who just doesn't like PoE 2 for whatever reason, and you like PoE 1 better, it's like now since that game's getting updates, you're kind of not feeling, unhappy and disappointed, right? So that actually changes the whole vibe of the community pretty significantly. So like we actually realized at some point, it's like, one of the best things we can do for PoE 2 right now is actually make a PoE 1 better, because it's kind of like serving the people who are unhappy about that. So that's definitely something that's really helped. And I mean, really, like it's not like we ever intended that we wouldn't be getting content regularly for PoE 1. It's just that it sort of ended up being with the getting the company to a place where it could do that was hard. So now we're in a much better position to be able to do that, and so we had a PoE 1 release what feels like seconds ago. It was like I think it might be like only even a month, and maybe a month and a week or something. And being able to deliver this update and that update within such a short time period, it's definitely required quite a lot of difference, just engineering of the company, right? Like getting it to the point where we've got all the people we need. So you know, and it's kind of cool as well because you know, as the company gets bigger, we get to do more. You know, like you might have noticed that the stuff we're doing with our trailers now is like way more advanced than what we've been doing. You know, that kind of stuff. Like, you know, we're getting more people to be able to do that kind of stuff too. So it's been quite cool to see that kind of growth as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, but I think I did last time, so I didn't want to be redundant. You talked a lot about performance this time. One of the top search terms is PoE2 Steam Deck. Have you worked on that specific device in addition to your current improvements? And then are you forward thinking about the Steam machine?
So I mean, we haven't targeted that machine specifically, but all the performance improvements we're doing will work very much in favor of that machine as well. Like it is a pretty marked difference, like the improvements to performance. And this is one of those things where you got to be really careful about promising things because, you know, you're always going to get someone who's got, for whatever reason, you know, their PC is like doing worse now than it was before, and then like they end up being slower or something like that. So you didn't fix it at all, but like I really can say that like the improvement is pretty damn marked. You know, we did a lot of work here. So I think it's going to especially be beneficial for console players as well because in that case that we can be much more certain about our performance promises because, you know, hardware's all exactly identical. Yeah, like it is way better there, especially at endgame when you had lots of performance problems. So yeah, it honestly might be getting towards double FPS in some cases. Like it really is like pretty big deal.
Double FPS. You heard it here first.
Yeah, well, as I said, I don't want to make promises like that.
So that that is an issue, right? When we look at this last PoE1 league, it was a major issue too. The stability of the game, the load times, the newly introduced bugs with the new mechanic kind of was quite a handful of them, and I play on a fairly decent PC, right? Like it's not $100,000 PC, but it is like it's like $4,000 or something like that. Off the top of my head, I think that's where we at now with the upgrades I've invested in, and it's not great when the performance hinders your ability to play the game. That's the problem. That's like a major issue, right? That's something that shouldn't be a problem, but it was kind of an issue in Abyss League, which we just had. There was definitely some stability and performance issues, and they were kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't quite as bad as PoE1 was this time around. This time around, like PoE1 really, for the first time ever, had some severe problems with that. And when that's a problem for me, I know a handful of people who play on console, right? And talking to them, you could really tell, like, okay, for them it's like a massive issue, right? I guess it's a big issue for me because I put a lot of time into it and I create content and stuff like that. So I feel it like maybe a lot more. But if you're just, let's say you're just playing like 2 hours a day, right? And on average, then the amount of times you run into like a bug or like some instabilities and stuff are less than if you play like, I play roughly, I would say like 4 to 6 hours on average a day. And then like it's not like I play every day. It's just like when I do play, I play like a long session, right? So you tend to run into those issues a lot more, and they feel like really bad, right? So if you're playing like a long set on console, then you're really gonna feel it, right? So that's definitely something that's like needed to be honed in on, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
We went with a conservative 25% in the live stream for that reason, but yeah, like I mean, I'm seeing numbers like that though. Yeah, it's way better.
Well, I hope you're correct. Speaking of just, you know, Path of Exile and how you really try and innovate. In the past, we had talked about lack of innovation in the market. That was a while ago. Do you feel like a lot of the larger companies are getting better about this or even more risk averse? And are they creating a space for studios like your own to really shine?
Oh, they are.
So it's pretty interesting what's been going on in the industry in the last year, especially where it feels like all the biggest things are indie hits. Like,
Yep.
honestly, it really feels like something has changed a little bit here.
Triple A means ass, and more fucking ass, right? Triple A, like Call of Duty, like to say, oh, we're Triple A. Diablo, Triple A. Whatever is Triple A, and you know what? Triple A is really just not what it's like a sales pitch now. It's not an actual stamp you can give something like we used to be able to. It used to be that if it had the stamp of AAA, it was like a guarantee that it was something like, let's say, like Red Dead Redemption, or like GTA 5, or what's another really good AAA title that I can come up with real quick? There's so many that's bad. It's hard to come up with a good one. Oh shit. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So I'm just gonna use those two real quick as examples, because the AAA stamp is just not what it has been. I would say you have stuff like Myth of Wukong, or whatever it was called, the Chinese game, absolutely insane. Then you have like Expedition 33, insane game. One Human looked insane for like a small, like a small developer to put out something that looks this crazy is wild. Then you have the Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring. There's just a handful of games that's made by like smaller companies, but quality wise is in a completely different stratosphere. Like, it's two different worlds. Those are the people who should get the AAA stamp, right? Not the Call of Duty, not the Diablo 4, not the whatever, right? Like, that's just not. It's just not AAA, man.
With that. I sort of wonder whether what we'll see eventually is some kind of cycle where the studios, the kind of like, there'll be another thing where like the indie hits kind of like end up growing again and becoming the new AAA, as it were, or you kind of have a cycle again of like teams growing in. But right now it feels like we're right in the point where you get some really polished indie experiences are kind of ending up being some of the largest things. So I mean, like the older companies. I mean, it's honestly I barely pay attention to them anymore, quite frankly. Like
As you
that
shouldn't.
stuff is like not really where the action is at this point. Which normally I feel like people are overly mean to AAA game developers, but yeah, it really is kind of a bit of a marked change this year for sure.
It's deserved.
Yeah, like I'm playing of Ash and Steel. It's a smaller studio game, and it's just like, oh wow, this is so refreshing. And Out of Action is this indie game. It's a first-person shooter that's trying something new, and that's been really, really refreshing for me. Another thing about the market, just generally speaking, we talked about Chris last time, and he's sort of doing his YouTube thing now. He did a video about dark patterns. It wasn't something that I was really familiar with. It was really, really insightful. You've also talked with me about avoiding negative cycles in the past. How do you and the team avoid dark patterns being icky feelings for the player?
I think it really
feelings. Yeah,
I think it really just comes down to we've always, and like this has been from the very beginning of our company, have always just been really against those kinds of things. Like maybe there's this kind of like there's a sort of hacker ethos that I think that both Chris and I kind of came from younger, like when we were younger in our lives, that kind of was very kind of like anti-establishment in this
2600 I was all the yeah.
So yeah, we just kind of had that sort of feeling about things, and so yeah, our kind of whole philosophy I think was kind of shaped from that a lot, and so that's whenever we're looking at doing things. I mean, we're very careful with our microtransactions and this kind of stuff as well. Like whenever we're looking at the stuff to make sure that we don't like go across the line of like just that weird icky feeling, as you said. But I mean, it just comes down to, I think, just being a gamer and being in that community and understanding, like, you know, if you're part of it, it's like you immediately tell, like, how would I react if I saw a game announce this, right? And that's what you need to be thinking as you're doing these things. And honestly, like with Settlers of Calgary, so this is a funny one. So that one is a league that had some real-time mechanics, and I was like super uneasy about that. I was like, I'm actually really worried that we're crossing a line here into like mobile game style territory. And I was really, really worried about it. And it kind of worked out. And I think the reason why is because we had enough trust built up that we weren't kind of doing it in an evil way. And we also kind of weren't doing things like where, you know, like we weren't doing the type of thing where we're like, okay, we want you to get up in the middle of the night and that kind of like crappy stuff that the games have done.
Exactly.
So we kind of managed to have a bit of latitude to do that. But yeah, I was even really just worried about that. And that ended up being like a really popular league in the end. But yeah, like that's the kind of stuff that I really do want to be careful to try and avoid.
His video.
So I kind of want to highlight a dark pattern for those who don't really know what it is, right? Like just so you guys get a feeling for what that actually means in a dirty, disgusting way, right? Like how we're gonna use this video, Asmongold reacting to it, but that's the only video I can really find. So we're gonna use this video. This will show you how a dark pattern actually works, meaning when you use a controller, I'm just gonna slowly, like really quickly explain it. You use a controller. Once you, let's say, press, as you would press escape on a PC to open up your menu to like quit the game, for instance, what button is the first button that's highlighted by your controller cursor, right? So sometimes, let's say my controller cursor is over here and I were to press escape, it would just stay here, right? And you would have to move it to wherever. A dark pattern is if you press escape and it automatically just swaps into one of the options. And especially when that option is something where you have to spend money or where it like uses something that you paid money for instance, right? That's a dark pattern. So you will
making the original accelerated battle pass button the default landing button on the seasonal page. They intentionally didn't add a confirmation button for those who hit by accident, by adding a feature that only exists to prey on misclicks so people activate their battle pass when they don't want to. Sucks. What?
No!
Wait.
What? Let's see if it counted. No! What? No!
Ah!
That thing activated? You gotta be. I have to constantly go to that fucking menu!
Oh my god!
You gotta be shitting me!
It definitely snaps on PC.
Oh,
did you see that? Did you see that? And that was on PC. That wasn't even on that wasn't even on console. But look at this. Look at this snap, right? So he puts his mouse cursor up here, and when he got here, it just went whoop right before he clicked. When he wanted to click up here, right? Like right before he clicked it, it just poop. It pulled it down to the one that is a thing that you paid for. So it's like you buy the battle pass. But if you don't activate it, you can like save that for the next battle pass if you don't like this battle pass, right? Did you see that?
Oh shit. I was trying to click Season Journey.
Quinn did the same on stream, no confirmation.
Accelerated pass. What? What is this? Wait, I didn't agree to it. I just said activate. What? What does it mean transaction? What does it mean transaction?
Oh my god.
You see it? That right there. That right there is... How is that not absolutely predatory towards the player, right? How is that not being frowned upon more? How does that not cause a company to lose a majority of their players immediately? Where people just go, I do not want to support like people who develop a system that's preying on the players like that. Because if you go to PoE, there is no snapshotting with your cursors. There's no like, oh, it magically just activated this because I clicked it one time. It's always a confirmation button. Are you sure you want this? You have to like click multiple buttons to get there. You know what I mean? It's stuff like this where it's like coded into the system to force the cursor to something just so you can accidentally click it and then spend money. And then you're like, it's beyond me how people will still pull money out their wallet and vote for a company that acts like that. And it happens in many things in general, right? Like all over the place. And it just, Call of Duty does it too, and they do it. And again, that's an Activision game, obviously. Activision is the problem here. It's not necessarily Diablo or Call of Duty. It's Activision. Those are the guys who are in control. Well, now it's Microsoft, but they're not interested in changing because they're making money like this, right? Like that's how they make their money. It's using psychologists to figure out how can we push more microtransactions, using like dark patterns to force people to do something they actually wouldn't want to do if they had the choice. It's marketing and playing on nostalgia to get people to buy the product, and then when they buy it and get into it, they realize all the nostalgia they were selling was a video where they just put a bunch of bullshit in that we wanted, and then when you get the real thing, there's none of that shit in there anyways, right? Like there's none of the real nostalgia in there. Stop voting for it, people.
Somebody carrying a laptop to keep a daily streak alive. Was it you?
Yeah, wasn't me. No, I do know who that was. But I'm not gonna throw them under the bus.
That's a really good example too. Having daily streaks. Oh, if you don't log in today, you don't get your reward. Well, so what are you saying? Like I'm out traveling and I gotta bring my fucking game and I gotta do this while I'm like on vacation now? Are you fucking crazy? Like it's so predatory, and if you notice, that's something that happens in mobile games more than you would ever, like, that is like where they got the idea from. They saw how much money they made off of that, and then they said, oh, we can make that and we can do that in mobile games. Let's just put that in all games now, because we're making so much money from this. And it's not just that they're making money. You gotta understand something, because this could be a free thing. Log in every day and get this free item. But what you're not thinking about is that item is not free. That costed your time, attention, and it made it look like that the player base is bigger than it actually is, because now you have like 80% of people are logging in every day. But how many of those 80% is logging in and playing for 2 hours? And how many is logging in and grabbing the free stuff and whatever they have to do real quick for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour, whatever it is? That's fake retention. Right? That's not real retention. They aren't coming back to play the game because they want to play the game. They're coming back to gain their rewards or whatever, and then they're locking the fuck out immediately after because it's shit.
Dark patterns that you really don't like and work to avoid.
I mean, okay, like, so, random example, right? In our shop, the points, they're like 1 point is 10 cents, right? We don't have any like weird like ratios and other stuff. We never do like point discounts or like larger packs of discounts and other stuff like that. Like, you know, like we try to play it extremely, you know, like it's like the reason why we have to have a point currency on the shop is because, you know, you need to do at least $5, otherwise the credit card fees just become ridiculous, right? But it's like, outside of that, we're not interested in having a premium currency exactly. We just want you to be able to buy, you know, like stuff in our shop. So therefore, we don't have any interest in doing things like selling things for like, you know, like 99 points or like, you know, like doing weird ratios and all stuff. Like, I don't want to do it, right? So we've always been like that, and we just kind of, you know, just a random example of one of those things, right?
That should be the
It seems like you're doing okay, so maybe
that should be the industry standard right there. That you're not doing like fucked up ratios where you have to get out a calculator. You have to figure out what you actually pay for an item, right? So in Call of Duty, they are so dirty with this. They'll sell you a pack of coins or points, like let's say 1,200 points, and then all the fucking skins are like 1,400 points. So if you buy the 1,200 one, you can't buy this full skin right here, like this whole section of skins, because they're all 1,400 or whatever, like between 1,400 and 2,000 points. And now you have to buy two of the 1,200, and now you have 2400. Okay, you can buy the skin, but now you have leftovers, and now the leftovers doesn't. You're like now you can't buy the next skin because that's not enough or whatever, right? Like the psychological warfare they're doing is so insane. Like, why do we accept that? Why do we think that is a fucking acceptable way to do things? How are more people not just saying, well, you know what? You wanna fuck with my mental like that? Here you go, man. I'm not gonna give you anything. Fuck your skins. I'm not gonna buy anything. I'm gonna play a game because I love the game, but I'm just gonna do it in the standard skin that I got from when I played the game. Like, why would you ever support that? The more you support that, the worse it's gonna get.
They're
Sure,
not
no, but
new.
you don't need to do that, right? I mean, it's the same as true with the mystery box. I think we were one of the first in the industry to publish what the chance were. I think we were one of the earliest ones also to make it so that you can't get repeat items in the mystery boxes as well. Like, you know, so like we're making sure that when we do the stuff that we're trying to be as friendly as possible for that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And like at the end of the day,
How it
we
should
did
be.
experiments with the stuff and we found, you know what, like all of those things didn't matter as much as you might think that they do. And I'm sure that, you know, you could probably make a few more bucks if you do some of that stuff, but I don't think it's actually necessary. I think that you can actually be fair and it's okay.
And the
Yeah, you know,
thing,
it's just a really interesting topic for me because I
thing about being fair when it comes to stuff like that is how many repeat customers do you get? How many people feel like they got what they paid for? You know what I mean? And then feel like, oh, next time I want to buy something, I'm just going to do it without even thinking about it. Whereas once you get shit on like enough times by a game with those type of dark pattern mechanics, you just stop wanting to buy anything. Like, that's how I am. I just go, okay, you want to do me like this? And here's a really freaking good example that I can give you. And this is in a game, and this is still blowing my mind to this day. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is a single-player game, they sell skins, right, for your character. And you would think, oh, it's just a skin. What's the big problem here? No. So there's multiple dark patterns here. First and foremost, you have the inconsistency in pricing, so you can't buy like a pack of coins and it automatically fits perfectly to the skin you want. And on top of that, there is the power gain, like the actual in-game power you get from wearing this skin. This skin would have special mods on there that were stronger than anything else in the game that you could find. This would have these rune sockets that you could only get on this paid for armor set. So if you didn't buy the armor set, now you couldn't use these super runes in every piece, like every piece of item. You would, the ones you find out in the world, you could only put them in like your weapon and your armor, I think it was, or something like that. But now you can put those in your helmet, in your boots, in your gloves. You know what I mean? Like, how are we? Why are we doing that in a single-player game? How is that not the most aggressive way of doing it? Like, this insane to do that.
think there are games that do it well and sort of strike that balance that needs to be struck when you're making a product. I think you're one of those companies, in my opinion. And
Please name a couple
I
more.
was curious, do you feel like anybody out there is kind of getting a bad rap in the industry right now?
You mean like undeserved?
Yeah, like maybe it's like, maybe you're being a little bit too harsh on.
I don't
No.
know that I would immediately. I don't think there's any examples that jump to my mind.
Nope.
Like, I mean, look, I do, like, in general, I do sympathize with game companies when they do things, because, you know, like, I've been there in some cases, you know, like, I can see how
Yeah.
it goes. And obviously, everyone's trying to do their best with regard to making things that players like. So, you know, like, I do sympathize a lot of the time, but at the end of the day, like, you know, you've got to, you do actually need to do what your customers want you to do, right? Like, you can't, you know, you have to respect them. And so,
Yep.
you know, if people are getting a bad rap, I mean, on some level, they do need to just be able to weather that and deal with that and, you know, and change things and do better.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, actually, in my previous interview with Path One, I believe he said something along the lines of, "You can't get defensive with your community because
Sure.
you have to address those issues head on." What's your personal philosophy with that? Like, when the community's mad, you seem to really weather those storms well. So, like, what's your approach when, you know, you're kind of getting nailed from all corners?
I mean, what it comes down to really is you have to appreciate the fact that anyone who's unhappy, they're unhappy for a reason, right? Like you have to try to find their perspective, and that can be really hard sometimes, like seeing what their perspective is. But it can be done. You can do it, and that is what led to a lot of the improvements we made in 030, where we did the sprinting and stuff like that. And it's like I was kind of against the idea initially, but then we worked out a way to make it okay. We're like, okay, so someone's saying they want the game to be faster. Like, what is a way that we can do that in a way that they are happy and I'm happy, right? Like, can we find a way to kind of like get a common ground here? And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
It's
last year I asked you about your favorite.
being unbiased towards something. It is not impossible. Like, you can love something really, really, like, you can love one thing like a lot and then hate another thing and then still be somewhat unbiased, right? Even though I love Path of Exile and I hate, like, shit on Diablo, I can still, if Diablo changed a bunch of stuff, I would still be able to sit down and say, okay, this might not be my favorite game or anything, but at least this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this is like fantastic. This is like great mechanics. They work perfectly. I really like how... Let's take... what's another game that I can use? Well, I haven't played Last Epoch, but from what I can gain from what I've seen, like other people play, that game seems like, again, a really good example of giving a lot of people what they ask for. And instead of being hyper, like, aggressive on certain things that just doesn't make for good gameplay or a good experience, they seem a lot more willing to listen to their community, change certain things, and turn certain, like, knobs in the right directions to, like, kind of like constantly make this curve go upwards slowly but surely, instead of just it continuously just goes down, right? It's just insane to me how when you start looking at numbers, for instance, like on Twitch or something like that, and you see the view count on Diablo 4 versus like Diablo 2, and like just like Diablo 3 versus Diablo 2 Resurrected, for instance, right? Like, it's just how is it so much better? Like, how is it so much more popular to watch Diablo 2 than it is to watch Diablo 4, for instance? It's probably because there is not all of these insane mechanics that's just not good. Like, and I just did a reaction video not too long ago about the difference from Diablo 1 to Diablo 4. And that really highlighted so goddamn many issues there is with the newer titles. Even though he was being really, really nice about it, I just don't, like, I don't agree. So I'm like a lot more aggressive with it. When I don't agree with something, I'll just come out and say it directly. Like, I feel like this company is shitting on me. So screw them, I'm boycotting them. That's what I did with Ubisoft. That's what I have done with Call of Duty, Activision in general, actually, is I've boycotted now. Like, so I won't even really make content on it, unless it's Diablo 2, right? Like, I'll make content on Diablo 2, because I don't consider it an Activision game. But I don't even want to talk bad about them, you know what I mean? Because that is still giving them attention. And by giving them attention, is like, that's just literally the same as buying some microtransactions. There's like, you have your wallet and then you have your attention. That's like the votes that count, right? So if you don't put any money towards it and you don't put any attention towards it, that's it. You haven't seen me make a video on Ubisoft forever. I did make one where I highlighted that 4 years back, this is exactly the prediction I made, and this is exactly where the game ended up 4 years later. And mind you, I am still to this day getting invited to playtest their games and to do all this stuff, right? On games they haven't even released yet. And I'm not even accepting that, because I don't even want to, like, give them that attention. You see what I mean? Even though that's a huge opportunity for me, I don't give them their attention because they do not deserve it. And then what they have to do is they have to prove that they can make something that's for the players, and then earn that respect back. But if they're not willing to do that, then I just can't give them the respect. Therefore, I can't give them my attention, and therefore I won't open my wallet.
Game. I think you said it was Balatro. I think that was your game. Was that 2024?
Probably, yeah. That sounds right.
Who do you think's going to win 2025 the game at the Game Awards, and what have been some of your favorites this year?
Well, I mean, the people who are going to win is obviously Expedition 33.
Yeah.
I think that's not in doubt. Not actually my favorite game particularly, but not that I'm saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying, like, you know, it wasn't my favorite. Let me just, I feel like I need to look at my Steam library here and
Go ahead.
refresh myself on what I've been playing. So, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna the game I definitely enjoyed the most this year was The Drifter. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's a
I haven't.
90s style It's a 90s style adventure game, and it was just so well done. I honestly loved it. So yeah, that's kind of that's the thing that I'm pushing at the moment in terms of like awesome games. And honestly, they probably deserve more sales because it's really excellent. So yeah, that's probably what I enjoyed the most.
Oh, that's great. And you're voting for Expedition 33. Got it.
I would not, but I would. I'm not sure if they got nominated, but Silk Song was probably my next favorite afterwards. I would say.
Great
I really
game.
enjoyed that. Yeah.
Great
I
game.
really enjoyed
The new map system. So was that inspired from PoE 1, or what was the new map system?
And so you're talking about the Fate of the Vile dungeon map thing.
Yeah.
So basically, that we did originally want to do something that was inspired by what we did in Incursion, but I wanted to do something a bit more interesting because I never was really quite fully happy with how that one worked. And I'd played an indie game called Loop Hero. It must have been like 6 or 7 months ago. I don't know if you played it before, but it's effectively a game where you know the hero is automated, and what you're doing is designing and making a dungeon for them to walk around in order to level up the hero. And I really liked the way that like the position of placing all of the elements in the dungeon really mattered in that game. So I kind of took a bit of inspiration from that. And I ended up just sort of at home, just in my spare time, kind of writing like a programmer UI type sort of simulation for this to sort of see like, okay, what can I make here to create something. And I actually ended up using that prototype. We took all the code from that and then actually used it for the actual game. So effectively what we've got is the actual league is that same prototype with, you know, a proper UI on it rather than the UI that I just made, you know, with like lines and a few small things. So that was a really fun one. And honestly, I don't know if the league could have come together quite the same in any other way because I ended up modifying the design of what I was doing a lot while I was making it. Yeah, it's been a very long time since I kind of like personally just like sat down and wrote code for a league before. So that was a really fun one and kind of returned to my roots a little bit because, you know, I used to do this stuff all the time a long time ago.
What do you guys code in?
C++. So yeah, we've got our own engine. We're like, you know, most of the game industry that isn't using Unity is all on C++.
Okay, cool. And I made a comment about it. You have a painting behind you. Are you a painter? Do you paint?
I'm not. No, it's not me. It's that's a guy. I mean, Sam Foley, I believe is his name. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. It's a really nice one.
Yeah,
he's like a local
really nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Cool. I had a few jokey questions in here too that I didn't get to. When writing your scripts, I also deal with this. How hard is it to find other words for terms like foe, enemy, or destroy/defeat?
Yeah. It could take a while. You know what? I'll tell you what. The one thing that I find myself using AI for is a really good thesaurus. Right, like it's just like they seem to, in the depths of the AI, there seem to be a million other these words, and so that's what I often use it for. It's definitely a problem though.
Yeah, that's funny. Give me 5 different ways to say the word foe.
You know.
What was another one I had here? Oh, I was sort of curious. Do you ever use consultancy agencies? I know you have like the Aztecs, right? So like, do you reach out to an Aztec expert to ask them about getting the glyphs correct? I don't even know what you would ask about.
Not usually. What it really comes down to is making sure that our artists are just doing really good referencing and just making sure that they're you know, paying a lot of attention to that stuff. So they do a lot of exploration and sort of, you know, like do like a research into the culture. And then what they make is they make these these reference boards of like, you know, here's how to do this correctly and all stuff. They sort of assemble all those kinds of things together in order to make like a you know, a sort of a Bible for how to, you know, here's how to represent this culture as we are representing it in, you know, in the game. And then once you've got that, you can kind of or go from there and create like a like a bunch of assets. Yeah, like it's definitely a bit of a process.
Yeah, that's sort of cool. Like, do you travel to the locations and then actually experience it, or is it more just online research? What's the process like?
I mean, we haven't really done that. It is a lot of online research mostly. I mean, there've been cases where we've done like some different things than that, but most of the time, yeah, it's just a lot of online research and just sort of making sure. Now, I mean, this isn't really my thing, obviously. Like, I'm not the lead artist, but I sort of that is what they do, and I sort of see them doing that stuff all the time.
When you think back to where you were at launch and where you are today, what's something that you're like really, really proud to have accomplished at this point with what is it, 0.4, right?
I think that like what we've managed to do really well now is we've managed to get like a really good feel for like combat and like through the campaign and that kind of stuff. I'm really happy with where that is. I really like the way that the item system and crafting is coming together. Like, sure, we could use a few more rewards and stuff, but the overall system I'm really enjoying. And just like just the feeling of comboing things and all that stuff, I'm just really happy with that. So it's like I don't think there's like too many weaknesses we still have left, and I kind of do have a plan for how to address them. So like I'm pretty sure things are coming together, and we're going to be now soon at a point where I'm like, okay, like we're actually pretty damn locked in as far as like making a good action RPG is concerned.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that you were adjusting the currency in Endgame, because that was one of my big criticisms for like 0.0 or whatever, because you just spend everything, and if you run out of the maps basically, or whatever they're called, you can't really proceed anymore. So thank you, I guess that was more than anything.
Yeah.
Was that from player feedback, or was it from your own experience, or maybe a little of both?
It's a mix of both. I mean, like I sort of say this pretty frequently, but ultimately what it comes down to is, like we hear the players what they say, we play ourselves, we try to understand, like, okay, am I experiencing the same problem that they're experiencing, and then be like, okay, now we can make some kind of change. But you do need both of those elements. Like what I don't want to do is just knee-jerk react to something. Like a player says this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to change it then, like it needs to be that I actually experience the problem for myself to fully understand it. That's kind of a key element of that.
And the dragon, it's like you've referenced Game of Thrones, right? At least a little bit.
I mean, I believe that the Game of Thrones dragons were also wyverns technically. So they're just the cooler form of worm, which is the overall classification here. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, look, that sort of classic like breathing dragon fire pose. I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Like, you gotta use those references.
Yo, so okay, that's kind of crazy, because in my mind, when I saw it, the first immediate thing that came to my mind was Skyrim. That's literally that's the inspiration picture I immediately got when I looked at it. I looked at it like, oh shit, they played Skyrim and they went, why the fuck are we not able to just become the dragon? You know what I mean? Why do I have to run around as a dragonborn when you can just be the dragon? That's it. That's what came to my mind immediately.
Are you going to roll Druid for the new season, or do you think is there another class you're eyeing?
No, definitely Druid right now. I mean, that's what I've been playing for a while now. But actually, there's like a lot of different ways to play it, and it's a little bit it's actually a bit unusual as far as the classes go, because we had to kind of think of it in like, okay, there are sort of 4 archetypes that you might want to play, even independent of being able to pick things across them, right? Like you have to be able to deal with someone who wants to play only spells, or someone who wants to play only wolf, someone who wants to play only bear, or only dragon, but also you want to make sure that there's reasons to combine all of them as well. So it's kind of ended up, there's a lot more sort of cross-pollination between the different elements of the skill set here than what we've done before. And I actually think I kind of want to use some of those ideas and try to bring them back into the other classes as well a bit, because that exercise of sort of thinking about things in terms of those different individual archetypes kind of resulted in quite a lot more interesting design. So yeah, like that's been, but it does mean that playtesting has just been like, well, once if you're doing a whole bear playthrough, it's like, okay, well now that's completely like got nothing to do with if you do a full wolf playthrough. So there's a lot sort of harder to kind of, you have to do more playtesting to make the same lot of stuff work.
How is that going to go? Like when I roll Druid in my playthrough, are you going to just naturally have drops? They're like, hey, maybe you should try out the wolf build, but that's usually through like Act 1, right? By the end of Act 1, you'll probably be locked in.
So basically, I mean, look, you can just combine multiple forms together. I do imagine a lot of people will probably want to stick to one. Effectively, what we do is at the beginning, we say, okay, like we're going to give you immediately a wolf and a bear skill, so to start you off. And then the next tier down, that's when you start to get the wyvern stuff coming in. So I suspect a lot of players will probably just like pick one at the start, just go with it. If the more adventurous players out there, you've also got the wyvern to sort of go with. But like all through, there's kind of like interesting opportunities to be able to move between them. And one of the things we're trying to do as well is that all of them generate some kind of resource or mechanic that the other ones can use in different ways. Like we'll put those hooks in there. So like one of the ones we had in the video, for example, was that so rage is a thing that the bear can easily generate. Like if you're using, but the other two classes also have things that consume rage without a natural way to generate it, right? So it's like, you don't have to do that, but it's just a thing that if you're looking to do some kind of like bear hybrid with wyvern, then you can do that, right? Like the more rage you have, the longer you can do the flame breath. So that's like a thing you could do if you want to sort of specialize in doing that. Like it's like we try to have those cross pollinations from all different directions.
What do you think you're gonna roll for the druid?
That's a tough one. I mean, the most recent playthrough I was doing wyvern, so I probably might want to go wolf for the next one after that. So probably on release I'll do that. I'm really quite enjoying wyvern though. It has been fun. So but I think that when I last played wolf, we didn't quite have a couple of those changes to the way that the pounce and cross slash stuff works. So I think I might want to roll that one next.
Well, I suppose I'll ask one more because I think I got one more minute. The time mechanic on the ascendancy, how does that work on the back end? Maybe that's a weird question. It seems like you know where the enemy AI is gonna go, and then
you're talking about the one where it does a skill from the future kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Really what that is just like, so are you talking about the one where you that you use against bosses, or the one where it does the thing for you?
You did it against the boss in the
Okay, so that one, yeah. So that one, basically what we do is like when you use it, it effectively does the heavy stun as if they got heavy stunned from their current position, and then both of those entities now exist, but you haven't heavy stunned one of them. So then what usually happens after that is, because you keep attacking them, it immediately heavy stuns the boss as well, and that causes the boss to usually do basically the same thing that just happened to the vision of it that got heavy stunned before. So it kind of just ends up being that you get the feeling of like you got a future got ripped out and then it immediately happened after. So it's kind of just a bit of a psychological trick there, I guess.
Yeah.
It looks.
It looks
that
cool.
one was a bit of a trip. I'm like, wait, how does that work? That seems really fun. What's a cosmetic that you and the team worked really hard on and thought was really cool, but no one bought or very few people bought?
I actually don't think I've got a good answer for this one. I probably didn't pay enough attention to it to really be able to say that. It actually is. I'm not usually the one doing most of that cosmetic stuff, so probably I'm not the right person to answer that question.
Well, I just thought it would be a fun one to ask. I don't know how much time we have left, but I kind of got through my questions a little faster than I thought. Was there anything that I didn't ask you about that you really were excited to discuss today?
No, I mean, look, the main things are, we've got the druid. That's obviously been a huge deal. Community's been really excited for it. We've got the Fate of the Val. It's my favorite league to develop for a very long time, so I'm really enjoying that one. And obviously a bunch of other more minor things that really should be saved for the patch notes. But that's the sort of the core of it. And I'm really happy with what we delivered for this release.
And you can't give me any hints about final release date?
Well, I mean, it isn't this year. That's what.
Oh, it's not this December. I see.
But look, put it this way: I would be incredibly disappointed if we didn't have it out sometime next year. Let's just say that. That's definitely like if the release year ended in a 7, I would be quite unhappy. I'm doing my best to try and get it out next year. But like when it comes down to it, what we need to do is we need to get the end game in a good place. We need to get the balance in a good place. We need the performance in a good place. It's just basically, and then of course we need to finish the campaign, right? Like these are the things we need to do to get the game out. And so I don't want to commit to when the date is until we're like pretty damn certain that all of that stuff is good. And at that point, we're ready to say, hey, everyone, the game's done. Play it, you're gonna have a great time. People, no one's left. Like there are no big groups of things that people can say are bad left.
Yeah, that's the
totally
smartest
makes
way to
sense
go
that
about it.
You want to wait till everything's lined up, all your ducks are in a row, so to speak. Well, I'm super excited to try out the Druid. I can't wait for this expansion. I'm waiting to play this class since we met and did that first gameplay walkthrough many years ago. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always, and I also can't wait to see how the community reacts to all the new content.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thank you very much. It's been great.
Thanks. Now, in addition to this interview, we also had a bit of a round table, and it was really great to get a few questions in there and jokes. Let's be honest, that's just sort of my style. Anyway, here's what they had to say to those questions.
Starting from the ones that were already posted when we were playing the video. The first question is, can any class equip the animal talisman weapons or just the druid? Yep, so just like all of our weapons, they're usable by any class. The talisman is what unlocks the ability to transform, so effectively any class can do it, and obviously we like to do this kind of thing because you know, for the players out there who like to experiment, you know, with doing things like ascendancy classes that are not on the druid while still using it with animal forms and that kind of thing, that can be a fun that can be a fun thing to allow. So yeah, we do try to allow this kind of stuff, and that's how it works. The next question is, are you able to alter the element of the druid's beast forms, like taking a Shadow Flame Conduit passive to make the Wyvern's Flame Breath ability deal chaos damage instead of fire? So yep, that one does work. And generally speaking, like all the various tools that we have throughout the game for modifying many different abilities, you know, all of those do work with the druid as well. But each of the forms do have a sort of like somewhat you know, known elemental alignment. So the bear generally has more stuff going on with fire, the wolf has a lot more stuff going with cold, and the wyvern has a lot more stuff going with lightning and some fire as well. The next question is, did you ever watch streamers or high-level players and get ideas on how to mess with them and design new challenges around those ideas? Not necessarily. I mean, obviously we do pay attention a lot to the streamers to see what kind of builds they're doing, but I wouldn't necessarily say we're just necessarily trying to mess with them. The next question was the flesh surgeon a failed dermatologist? Can you tell me more about the lore of this character? Well, I mean, I guess, you know, that's funny when we were coming up with that one. I can't even remember what came first, but someone proposed the idea of, you know, we've got all these, the Val have all these crafting mechanics for items. What if you could craft yourself? And honestly, like, as soon as we heard that, we were like, we have to do this. It's just super cool, to like cutting off your own limbs and replacing them with prosthetic ones. So yeah, that was just just the visual of it and everything was just so amazing. We're like, we just have to do this no matter how complicated it is. So that was a cool one. The next question is, I love the new map system in the temple. What inspired the system? So it is loosely related to the ideas we had in the Incursion League from PoE 1, but the game that actually inspired me the most was a random indie game called Loop Hero that I played a while back. And in this game, one of the things I really observed was that it wasn't so much about what tiles you got, it was more about how you place them with relation to each other. And I thought that was really interesting, so I wanted to make a system that had a lot of that same idea of, like, you know, it's about being able to place them strategically with the right positioning in order to get the best bonuses. And that turned out really well. So, you know, I really enjoyed working on this one just because designing that system was really fun. And in fact, Incursion, back when we made it in PoE 1, was one of the leagues I really enjoyed making the most. And for this one, I took the somewhat unusual step of actually writing the gameplay code for the league myself as well. So yeah, this was a really fun one to work on, and you know, just designing all those things. And I think it's one of those really fun things to do when you design and build those kinds of league mechanics, you know, by yourself. The next one is, what new buffs did you add to Lightning Arrow this season? So yeah, obviously, you know, there are a few supports, but of course, you know, the stuff that is the most powerful now, because I mean, everyone's playing Lightning Arrow at the moment. We did have to do a few nerfs for that, but overall, we've buffed a lot more things than we've nerfed. There's, as Mark said in the video, we've buffed like 90 skills. There's like a ton of stuff going on there, but of course there are a few nerfs as well. Next question is, the number of enemies in the end game is one of my biggest issues as well. What ultimately made you and the team scale the number back? So when we so there was a breakpoint where we saw that there were just way too many monsters in endgame, and the trouble that we had with it at the beginning was actually it's very hard to be able, at least we felt like it was going to be very hard to nerf that and like make the scale back the number of monsters in endgame without causing a lot of outrage among the player base. So we're really concerned about that. So what we actually ended up doing was we wanted to be able to change it through the whole game. What we decided to do was give it a test in 031. So we made a sort of mid-league patch where we adjusted it for the low-level places and maps, and then ramping up to the same value as before in the in-game. And we did that because we were like, okay, people aren't going to be worried about, like, we've got that borderline where you went from campaign to end game and it like felt like the bridge was, sorry, the jump was way too high. So we thought we'd smooth that out, but we were kind of like, well, players are going to complain unless we, unless we ramp it back up to what it was before an end game. But a sort of unexpected thing happened, which was that we actually got a bunch of players saying, oh, it was really good that you did that, and they actually wished that it was like that for the rest of the end game as well. And that's when we're like, well, hang on, like, we absolutely would have done that if we thought we could get away with it. If the players are actually saying they also want that, that means we absolutely should be doing it. So obviously the thing that the players do care a lot about is the fact that the rewards are, not being nerfed, and that the experiences are not being nerfed and that kind of stuff. So we had to make sure that was the same. But overall, I think that it's a hugely beneficial change, because, yeah, there was just this feeling of getting swarmed in the end game that wasn't really great. And the other thing that it was doing is it was causing a situation where the higher damage builds that, like, had less less AoE, were effectively penalized very significantly. Now with the changes, it's a bit more viable to do more of those types of builds. So I'm really happy with that change, and I think that improves things quite a lot. The next question that we have here is, the Druid has been on the precipice of being added for a while. What was the biggest hurdle with the class, and when did it click? So yeah, we actually originally showed the Druid back in Gamescom 2023, I believe it was. And back then, it was before we had added WASD to the game. And we only had one animal form at the time. We had other animal forms we wanted to do, but they hadn't actually been made yet. And so the very first thing we had to do to sort of get things going was we had to work out a way to make the class feel acceptable in a WASD context. And for the Wyvern in particular, that was really, really difficult because whenever you can cast, a ranged projectile at this point, such as, breathing fire and that kind of stuff, people want to be able to move while doing that. And, the dragon kind of moves around on its two big wings, grabbing the ground as it moves. So it's really quite difficult to make that work when you can move. So we kind of had to work out, we went through like a bunch of different strategies to making that work, and that was like a whole thing. And then we also had like a huge problem with the wolf as well, because one of the things when I were doing the wolf was we didn't want it to just look like a man in a wolf suit. So I was very keen on the kind of like four-legged locomotion, but then we started running into all sorts of problems of like, okay, if you're just a wolf, like what kind of attacks can you do? Just biting things is not particularly great. Like you need, you want that sort of claw, like slashing thing, that's kind of the fiction you're going for. But I didn't want to give up on that four-legged locomotion either. So we ended up coming with a hybrid for that one where if you're jumping from far away, you can go from 4 legs, land on 2 legs and do a slash. And then for a little bit of walking, you do a sort of traditional WASD type movement setup. But then after you've walked a little while, you go back down on all fours again, and then you can actually run more quickly. That was the thing that really made the wolf click. So for each of those different animal forms, it really was kind of a different moment when we sort of worked out how to make them fun. And we honestly went through a hell of a time getting that to the point where it felt really good across all the classes. But we did get there in the end. Yeah, that was, I guess it probably was only like a couple of months ago when we really managed to get things really working to the point where I was really happy with it. The next question is, in terms of performance, what would you say is usually the biggest tipping point and pushes the team to find more solutions? Well, I mean, performance has been something that people have been pretty unhappy about for a while. And this time I basically just said, look, I'm going to take care of this one. So I sort of personally started firing at the profiler and finding things and just pushing things forward. So yeah, we found a lot of things in a relatively short period of time. I'm really happy with the improvements we did. In the video we said 25% increase, but honestly I think that the reality is quite a lot better than that. The reason we wanted to hedge our bets there is that you're always going to have people who say, oh, like it's not actually that much faster and that kind of stuff. I think it's better just to under promise and over deliver there. So for example, even always. Today, I found something else that can improve the performance of the game by 20-ish%. We've got some really big improvements. I think the honest actual answer is it's probably more like double frame rate for CPU bound cases. But yeah, like we'll commit to a 25% uplift in all cases because that's been a problem we've seen. So yeah, like I just really wanted to make sure that we were improving in this league. Now there's a lot more we can do here. Like I've got a lot more ideas for things. I've identified some other things that we can improve, and there's obviously some balance things as well with like certain builds that can be a bit of a problem. But in general, I would say that we're getting a much better control over performance stuff. And certainly, what I want to make sure is that by the time early access is over, that not a single person is complaining about performance. So that's kind of the commitment that I want to have. And so yeah, like it's just become a something that we really need to make sure is really good. The next question was, what did you find was causing the performance issues? Great to see improvements. So I would say probably the it's not going to be one thing alone, but probably the biggest thing that made a difference, I guess, was making sure that we can take advantage of multiple cores more effectively. Effectively, even though you might have 12, 16 CPU cores or something like that, we were basically not really using most of them most of the time during the course of a frame. And so a lot of the work that I did was basically just making sure that we're removing dependencies so things can run at the same time more efficiently, and just utilizing more of the hardware that you have effectively. There was obviously some just traditional optimization as well, just looking at things that are slow and like finding a way to do it faster, but a lot of it was that multi-threaded optimization type stuff. The next question is, what inspired you to add Wyvern to Druid, and what inspirations do you use for this design / abilities? I'm not even sure who exactly was the first person to propose it, but effectively we were like, okay, we want to go something a little bit more out there with the third form. We want something that's not something...
Yeah, so my personal thought process when they said there was going to be a third form that we could shapeshift into immediately went to Gorilla, or to I think that was my my thing that I thought, okay, this is like the safe bet, you know what I mean? Like, this is what seems most obvious because we have already like gorillas in the game type thing, and it seems very thematically right. I didn't want to go too far off the edge in terms of like idea wise what they could do with it. So I was like, my wildest dream was, okay, they might do some kind of like owl or like eagle type thing if they're really crazy. Doing a dragon is so far above the scope that I had seen. Like it's just so far into the stratosphere over what I thought was even possible to do, and still make it look like something that's insane, right?
You would expect. And we also wanted something that had some kind of range ability, because we had the kind of like slow attack with the bear. We had the kind of fast and furious with the wolf. We wanted something that was going to be ranged, and someone said, why not a dragon? We ended up going with Wyvern, but that was kind of the thing. We're like, well, yeah, why not a dragon, right? We should probably do something like that because it would just be awesome. And then the tough part was like, okay, like if you're a dragon, you need to be able to utilize the wings effectively and that kind of stuff. And it just, it was a tough one, but we sort of was like, okay, if we want to be able to have some kind of range, like what kind of animal can you be that can be ranged? And so a Wyvern ended up being what we went with. Next question is, without spoilers, of course, are there other druid forms to be earned through uniques and other methods / means, like the demon for the bear? So we don't have any others in the game right now, but there are others that we were making and might come later. So yeah, there are some other uniques we did have in production, but that's something that we can definitely do more of, and I'm quite keen to do some of that as well. The next question is, can we get a skin for the druid that is basically a man in a wolf suit? I'm not sure about that. I'm kind of against it. But also the rig now effectively is designed with these sort of long, like sort of strange pose. So yeah, a little bit more difficult, I suspect, to do that. So yeah. So that's the end of the questions that I've seen in Discord. So if you guys have any other questions that you wanted to ask, then feel free to throw them in the Discord. Otherwise, I guess we're good. So okay, so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the presentation, and hopefully I answered some of your questions. And if that's all we have, then all right, then I guess we'll call it a day. So thank you very much, and yeah, I'll see you again. Hopefully I'll see you in game, but if I don't see you there, then hopefully I'll see you again next time we do a presentation.
Well, as always, it was an absolute pleasure to make this for y'all watching. Thank you for watching or reacting to the video. I always appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to know when my content goes live. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much to the members, all the patrons, all the YouTube members, Chris, Freddy, Philaroni, and Aries EMS. I appreciate you for...
Thank you, Destin, man. That was, again, a very informative, very straight-on interview, pointing out a bunch of good stuff, asking the right type of questions. Overall, really happy with stuff like this. This is exactly some stuff, like this is what I expect. not super focused on just one thing, you know what I mean? But really pointing out a bunch of different stuff, asking some very technical questions, and I find that being very interesting to listen to. So yeah, man, shout out to you for making this video. That was fire. That was absolutely fire. Yeah, I cannot wait to dip into this league and see what we're gonna do. I have a handful of builds in mind right now, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna do, but I do actually have like quite a bit of different ideas. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I'll leave a link for his video in the description as always, and a link to his channel. Go check him out. He is a super nice guy. And yeah, if nothing else, we'll see each other on League Start. If not, then check out one of the other videos for sure. And yeah, I love you guys. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz, and I'll catch you all in the next one.